The Chargers finally worked some things out offensively in their win against the Saints, led by Ladd McConkey and Justin Herbert, and that relationship is starting to become special.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogmeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 9 seasons together, but this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen, especially after a big post-game victory show that we have for you guys tonight. To make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, that one felt nice.
It sure did, Daniel, and Justin Herbert has been heating up as of late, but I think he went into a completely different level in this Saints game. He was as animated as I've ever seen it, and I absolutely love it. Not only that, but his teammates had his back. Ladd McConkey went out there and balled out, had his best game of his young career, and the defense as suffocatingly good as they have ever been.
Yeah, absolutely. The defense did what they were supposed to. The offense, so especially finding that killer instinct, finding a way to finish, putting the game away on their terms. I think a lot of good takeaways in a game that started pretty sloppy, and there's still plenty to work on, but I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. It starts with Justin Herbert, who, in my opinion, over the last 2 weeks has just been ridiculous. He's averaged over 300 yards per game over the last 2 weeks after not eclipsing 200 for the first 4 or 5. He was awesome again in this game. 20 of 32, 279 yards, 8.7 yards per attempt, which is just way bigger numbers than we were seeing from him earlier in the year. Last week, he averaged 8.9 yards per attempt. Every time he's throwing the ball, he's getting 9 yards out of it. But in this game, it felt like the big thing was the deep ball. Like the deep ball for Justin Herbert is back in a big way. He was trusting his receivers, in which we've talked a lot about the lack of receiving options and all that stuff, but like he trusted those guys on deep balls in this game, and David, like he was putting some balls on the absolute money. The throw to Jalen Reagor down the sideline for 24 yards, crazy touchdown pass to Simi Fehoko that didn't even count, and that one absolutely should have counted.
Should have looked like it could have counted.
Yeah, deep ball to Ladd McConkey, another deep ball to Josh Palmer. Like those are plays we haven't seen throughout the year, but Justin Herbert is operating on a different level right now, and that was great to see from this offense, which has struggled recently.
It really was great to see, and I think PFFLA put out a great stat where they said the Justin Herbert on 10-plus yard throws versus the Saints, 7 of 11, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Justin Herbert was in his bag today. He was feeling himself. He was feeling great. He was extending plays. He was putting the ball on a dime all over the football field, making big plays, and they were hunting. The Chargers were in attack mode in this game offensively, which was great to see after seeing so many lulls, so many empty drives. Like they were trying to push it. No matter who they had out there, who they didn't have out there, it didn't matter. Justin Herbert was trying to get the ball in the hands to whatever playmakers were at his disposal, and he looked damn good doing it.
Yeah, especially him and Ladd McConkey. Obviously, the Ladd and Herbert connection in this game was as good as we've ever seen it. But it was everyone. It was a group effort. It was because he trusted his receivers. And I get what you're saying, especially trying to end the offensive scoreless drought, at least getting into the end zone drought that came into this game with 15 straight drives. They hadn't scored a touchdown. But Justin Herbert, very early in this game, looked like he decided this was a game he was not going to let the Chargers lose. And to me, it started after the Chargers had a really frustrating start. They're down 2-0 in a game because they have a safety because of a botched snap on a punt. And he had a play where he rolled out of the pocket. It looked like he was going to take a 7-yard gain and slide like he probably should and be safe. No, he decided not to do that. He turned it upfield. He ends up getting a 38-yard gain. And not only that, ends it by lowering his shoulder on Tyrann Mathieu just because. Like, easily could have stepped out of bounds. He decided, I'm going to hit this dude right now and lower the boom on him. It totally energized that sideline, but not as much, David, I think, as what happened later, where he kind of got his team going, and then his team came and got his back when we saw a really, really dirty hit by Nathan Shepard on the Saints, a defensive tackle. Justin Herbert flipped the ball to J.K. Dobbins as the guy was wrapped up on his legs. About 2, maybe 3 seconds after that, the guy decides to hold on to his ankles and gator roll super dirty play, especially for a quarterback that just had an injured ankle. And Bradley Bozeman, rightfully so, came to his defense, attacked Nathan Shepard, and made sure that nothing like that was going to happen to his quarterback again.
Well, and send a message like, hey, you're not going to do that to my quarterback and think that you're going to get away with it. That's not going to happen. I'm going to send a message to you and to everyone around the league that if you come for my quarterback, I'm going to come take your head off. Yeah. That's exactly what Bradley Bozeman should have done.
Earned a lot of brownie points, David.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had some struggles, but like that's why he's a dude you want to root for. That's why he's a dude you want to see turn it around, because you know how much he cares, and this is what he's willing to do for his quarterback.
Yeah, and I hate all the comments out there from the people saying, "Oh, he's still bad at center." I don't care about any of that with this.
Not
play.
In that moment. No.
This is, not in that moment. This is all about standing up for your teammate and having your back of your quarterback is the most important player on the football team. You can't allow that. You can't let that slide. That has to happen. I'm sure that the organization or somebody in that organization is going to pick up that fine because there shouldn't even have been a penalty. Nick Shepard should have never have done that. That was a dirty, disgusting play that, would probably injure a lot of other players. Thankfully, Justin Herbert is part cyborg and, he's superhuman and he can play through a lot of different injuries. It's just something you hate to see. You never, ever want to see your quarterback get put in a situation to where that defensive player, like, what are you thinking? Like that, the only thing that you could have been thinking there is I'm going to hurt this guy. Like that's what it was. I don't care. Like the ball was out by 3 seconds. Like, what are we doing here? Like you deserved everything that you got and you probably got off a little bit easy. I hate seeing that.
Yeah, I think there's definite, reason for an ejection there. If they had called it, I would have totally understood it. I get, the Saints fans saying, okay, hey, he didn't know he didn't have the ball. That's just too long after. If it's a bang-bang thing, the other part of it is with the league actually protecting quarterbacks' legs, it would have been illegal even if, he had the ball in his hand. So it doesn't really matter from that aspect, but it was nice to see Bradley Bozeman take up for his quarterback and violently do so.
Yes.
I mean, it was really a spark. Because after that, the Chargers went on to do what they hadn't done in so long: score in the second half, put the game away offensively, get something going consistently in the second half. But it started with that, and this team rallying around their quarterback, who just over the last 2 weeks, like I said, has been otherworldly. He's awesome. Operating at a different level. He's elevating his teammates around him, and this is the Justin Herbert that we swear. That's why it's so hard when people want to talk down on him because of the stats or whatever the case is, because he can do this, and it's special. But it wasn't about him, really, at least as far as we know what Justin Herbert can do. Yeah. This was the first full breakout game we've seen from Ladd McConkey, man. 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 18.5 yards per catch in this game. It felt like something like this was coming, right? A couple of great yards after the catch moments for him so far this season. But it's like, hey, one of these times he's going to break it and it's going to go to the house. And that was definitely the most impressive play, David. He catches the ball, leaves about 3 Saints defenders in the dust on his way for a 60-yard touchdown.
And the thing is we didn't even know if Ladd McConkey was going to play in this game, right? He had missed practice and was questionable all week. To be able to be available and then go out there and have the best game of his career. 6 catches on 6 targets, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they're starting to target him down the field too. Like he's not just a slot guy. He's not just a guy that you're gonna get those quick completions, those easy third downs. No, Ladd McConkey is a legit threat, and he proved it in this game where he kind of made that back shoulder, made a couple of guys miss, reversed field, and accelerated into the end zone. Man, this guy is so fun to watch. He's so exciting. He's starting to become extremely reliable, and he's building a chemistry that is going to be very important for the Chargers and the success of this offense going forward, because it's obvious when Justin Herbert wants to make a play, he's looking to find Ladd McConkey, and the Chargers are trying to foster that relationship by putting them in positions to have success. And in this game, Ladd McConkey took over. He was fantastic. And that touchdown towards the end, Daniel, that one was really, really fun to watch. Justin Herbert extending that play, throwing that ball and hitting Ladd McConkey, and Ladd McConkey goes and mosses a couple of defenders and wrestles that ball away. Yeah. Just a phenomenal performance. Really exciting to watch that connection between Justin and Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, he put up legitimate wide receiver one numbers. Like for this game, he showed he can be a wide receiver one. I think it just shows how exciting the future is for this pairing, for this dynamic duo. And it doesn't mean they can't add more, don't need to add more.
Of course.
But for this game, that's what sparked this offense. It was those two guys who kind of put the offense on their back a little bit to pull away in the second half, which is something we wanted to see for them so long. Find that killer instinct. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. They showed us that against a bad Saints team for sure, but a better defense than the one like they played in Carolina or a couple of the defenses they played this year. I thought it was very impressive. One of the biggest takeaways I have, the Chargers finding that finishing mentality and finding a way to let me trim my beard this week. So we're going to talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you guys about LinkedIn, because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. It's why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for their hiring, because LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I also need to tell you guys about PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy, because with PrizePicks, it's just you versus the projections. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And especially when you have a game like the one we have on tonight, I promise you it's going to be much, much more entertaining if you're getting in with PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And when you have a game like the Giants versus the Steelers, you might need to spice things up a little bit, right? Maybe you go with a Najee Harris more or less than 64.5 yards. And hey, don't be ashamed to do the less than, right? Maybe it's a less than 191.5 passing yards for Daniel Jones. All I know is right now you can download PrizePicks app and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL. PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, David. Well, one of the things that isn't really a specific player type of thing, but more of just something we saw from this team as a whole in this game, was just the finishing ability. I mean, like, it felt like we were going crazy. First, it was the second half touchdowns that we did not see from this team since week 1 going into this one, which is absolutely infuriating.
So sad.
And then a microcosm of all those issues, they had just gone basically 2 full games without scoring a touchdown. I mean, they had gone 15 straight drives without a touchdown heading into this game against the Saints, heading in against a defense that got a lot healthier and played, much better than I saw in the games that I watched leading up to this.
Oh, yeah.
But also had given up 10 touchdowns over the 2 weeks prior. So watching the Chargers start off slow was like, we're heading for another one of these, right? And I happened to actually make a bet kind of before the game and talk about my silent protest that I wasn't going to trim this beard until the Chargers scored a touchdown in the second half. My job was getting upset with me. The appointment is scheduled. Wednesday night, I will get this thing trimmed Wednesday afternoon. It has to be, and thank God, because I'm ready. It's too much.
Grizzly Adams had a beard.
The baby doesn't like it. But, David, I want us to focus on just them being able to get something going in the second half. To not have a touchdown for as long as they did in the second half, and then to go into this game and put up 17 points like that, to keep their foot on the gas pedal the way they did, not just trying to run the ball 3 straight times and run clock. They put it in Justin Herbert's hands, and they're like, hey, let's throw another deep shot. Hey, let's go for another touchdown, even though we're already up 11. I loved that from this game.
Well, hey, like what you were doing before wasn't working. Like it was not working at all. You hadn't scored a touchdown since week 1 in the second half. You hadn't really done anything in the last couple of games in the second half. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Well, it was time to change the actions to get different results. And they did that. They threw the ball down the field. They were throwing it to Josh Palmer. They were throwing it to Ladd McConkey. Like, they had some methodical drives, like a 15-play, 90-yard drive that was capped off with the touchdown. They also had, I'm going to throw it all the way down the field. I'm going to score in 2 plays, with what they did with Ladd McConkey.
2 plays, 61 yards. Yeah, that's pretty
exactly.
awesome.
So they did it in a myriad of different ways, but I love the fact that they were staying with their foot on the gas pedal and not being content with trying to play with the lead and not trying not to lose, instead of putting your foot on the gas, putting your foot on their throat, and finishing the game, not leaving anything to chance or doubt.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of that game, you didn't have to wait till triple zeros to feel good about the Chargers winning this game. And I think it just shows a definitive growth, even from a game only a couple of weeks ago against the Denver Broncos, right? Where they had so many chances. Just put the game away. It should have never came down to, the Broncos kicking an onside kick to potentially go try to tie the game. I don't think it was really that close of a game, but still, this game shows marked improvement in that, because the Chargers didn't let it get close. They pulled away late, as they should. This felt like a must-win game. The Saints aren't a great team. They had a really bad offense with their second and third string quarterbacks playing in this game, right? At the same time, that hasn't stopped the Chargers from, the Chargers didn't score a second half touchdown against the Panthers. You know what they did? They came out, they ran the ball about 30 times. They didn't really care if they got first downs. It was just kind of a clock drain at that point.
Yeah.
This game, you're up 11. It's third down. You can easily take the points for a field goal and go up by 14, and you're still probably going to win that game. No, Justin Herbert is buying time. He's rolling out to his left. He's floating one up and just giving Ladd McConkey a chance on third down. He's coming down with it. That's the difference, right? This is tying the season high in how many points you've had, but this is a better defense than you played in Carolina, right? You put the game away with your offense, which is awesome. And I thought the other thing, David, is especially how much we've talked about the lack of receiving options for this team. Credit where credit's due, because I thought a lot of other guys really stepped up in this game, and Justin Herbert trusted those guys to go make a play.
He did, yeah. I mean, you look at down the stat line past Ladd McConkey and what he did, which was fantastic. You see Josh Palmer, 2 catches for 72 yards.
Yeah.
You see Will Disley, 5 catches for 41 yards, which, I mean, hey, we were sleeping on his receiving ability before the beginning of the season. And yeah, he had the bad drop. That probably could have gone for 30 plus or so.
Yeah.
But for him as a blocking tight end and to be as productive as he has been as a receiver, I think it is a feather in his cap, and credit to the work that he's put in and the positions that he's been put in the offense too. I feel like that's important. Jalen Reagor, I think that's a big one, especially after the bad fumble inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
He went right back to him, gave him an opportunity, and Jalen Reagor rewarded that opportunity with a fantastic full extension toe tap, drag on the sideline.
Toe drag swag, toe tap. Yeah, I mean,
big completion like that. That one was, something that's going to be good for that football game and for, that relationship going forward. Who knows what the wide receiver room is going to look like going forward? Might not be the last time we see Jalen Reagor, and Justin Herbert has proven if you get open, he's going to get you the football. He does not care about the name that's on the back. He only cares about that lightning bolt. And if you're wearing one, then you're liable to get a pass from Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a few guys just asked, like, hey, are you surprised that ball's getting you from Justin Herbert? And Ladd just had the best answer. He just like, usually with Justin, pretty much no matter where you're out in the field, if you turn around, the ball is probably going to hit you in the numbers. Like, just get your head towards the ball, and it's going to hit you where it needs to hit you.
Look for it.
5 different receivers have a 15-plus yard catch in this game, very similar to the last game, right? These are easily the best games as far as moving the football the Chargers have had all year. Last week, they just didn't convert it into touchdowns, but they moved the ball well.
Good response from Greg Roman, too. I think we got to give him a little bit of credit as well.
He stuck with the screens a little bit too long, right? I mean, the Saints had the screens sniffed out, and they probably ran it 3 more times than they should have. But I thought they evolved nicely, right? And like I said, didn't take their foot off the gas pedal, which is all we've wanted. I would also say, hey, shout out to Simi Fehoko. Yeah. He's not going to show up in the box score, right? He had 0 catches in this game, but had a touchdown that didn't count, where he actually got
a touchdown, man. He dragged
a toe drag in. If the Chargers didn't already lose a challenge, I think they probably challenged that there right before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
But even after that, right, he didn't pout. He ends up actually drawing a pass interference play on that drive that sets up the first touchdown of the game for the Chargers. And at that point, it was 3-2 or 5-2, something like 5-3. It was a terrible score up till that point. But it's just, it was great to see those other guys step up. Doesn't mean they don't need to add to that room, but it was great to see those guys step up because they needed them to. But
Yeah.
I would say, David, if there was one takeaway, running game still not where I wanted to see it, right? I think the full numbers look better because of Justin Herbert fudging the numbers a little bit, right? With his 4 carries for 49 yards and 12 and a half yards per carry average, basically. But J.K. Dobbins, 17 carries for 57 yards, 3.4 average. Kamani Vidal, 6 carries for 16 yards. That's the one kind of thing, David, where I'm like, hey, if the running game's better in this game, if it's even above average in this game, the Chargers probably put up 30 plus. It's just, I don't think that's still where it needs to be. I mean, it's just another, running backs wise, 5th consecutive game of 3.5 yards per carry or less.
Yeah, the blocking wasn't great. There wasn't a lot of holes to go through. I think J.K. Dobbins definitely fought for a couple of runs and had a couple where had no business having any positive yards, and he made something out of nothing. And so you got to give him credit for that. But no, I agree. I think the running game is definitely still a work in progress. They made it work. I am happy that Justin Herbert looks 100% healthy because he was running all over the place, and that might be a part of the offense going forward, which we kind of expected beforehand, is Justin Herbert using that athleticism. I think that's not the last time we see Justin Herbert run wild.
And maybe Justin Herbert, maybe with a couple designs, right? I'm not saying go crazy with it, but maybe him actually keeping some read options and things like that can open things up more for you in the running attack, because not having him do it isn't working for 5 straight games, basically. They did enough running the football. They got the tough yards. J.K. Dobbins, as Jim Harbaugh said, had like the toughest 11-yard carry that anyone's had in NFL history. Still not where it needs to be, though. But Jesse Minter's defense, on the other hand, we knew he was going up against a rookie quarterback, and he made it look like that, got him benched, but just overall a pretty smothering performance, but also a performance where it feels like it's still not the best we've seen from this Chargers defense. So we're going to talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you guys about Game Time, because the Game Time is where you can get your tickets for any game, any theater event, any comedy event, whatever you're looking for, you can get the tickets through Game Time. Game Time is the only place I go for my tickets on the secondhand market, and Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Game Time also brings experiences. I mean, that's what me and David always talk about. I got to go with my family to a Padres playoff game this year I'll never forget. David got to go visit Lambeau Field for the first time with Game Time. You can take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time and make some memories. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. David, I do want to get into the defensive side of things here. Just, I think, because we were so excited about the offense, because that's the side we have many more questions about. Yeah. That's where we had to start this show. But, Jesse Minter's defense, again, I mean, it's not like we're used to it. Maybe we are used to it. But, like, if you give up 6 points in a game defensively, it should probably lead the show, and we're not giving enough credit. But, man, another super, super impressive performance by Jesse Minter's group, missing the players that they're missing, having the young guys step up the way they have, and just getting the group collective effort that they did in this game was great to see. But thank you, everyone, for making us your first listen. We love doing these live post-game shows with you, and as long as you guys keep showing up, we're excited to keep bringing them to you. But there's always a little bit of an extra energy when they win like they do. So thank you for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen, check out the new slate at Locked On NFL. It's giving you 2 shows a day with Tyler the Madman Rowan in the morning and Tony Wiggins in the barbershop later on the afternoon, bringing on the local experts on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. David, let's talk about the defense, man. 6 points. Jesse Minter. Maybe we're taking it for granted. Another just insane performance by this dude's group.
Ho-hum, another dominating performance from Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator. It has been unreal to be able to watch what his defense has been able to do just 1 year after having one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I mean, it really is truly astonishing that we're sitting here right now after 7 games and the Chargers still have not surrendered more than 20 points in any single game this season. I just need to say that again. Yeah. No more than 20 points in any game this season. This defense has been fantastic. Smothering. They don't really allow much of anything. They don't allow a lot of points. They might allow some yards, but they're empty yards because they don't end in touchdowns. And my goodness, Daniel, what they did on third down in this game was disgusting. The New Orleans Saints converted 2 of their 16 third down opportunities in this game. The Chargers just destroyed them on third down. They could not do anything. And my goodness, that's a lot of possessions to have the football and not have a lot of
third downs. Yeah.
A lot of third downs. A lot of third downs to have and a lot of third downs to get shut out by the Chargers defense. Just another crazy performance.
Yeah, I thought it was, now the fact that we're talking about 7 games into the season, the Chargers are allowing on average 12.7 points per game, which I believe after everything the dust settles is still going to be number 1 in the NFL. Sacked Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener 5 times. You might be wondering, did they hurt Spencer Rattler? No, they got him benched. Jake Haener came in and it, probably moved the ball actually a little bit better than Spencer Rattler did.
He's more decisive for sure.
But also 5 different players with a sack. Thule, Khalil Mack, Bud Dupree, Scott Matlock, Poona Ford, all contributing.
Matlock, man, my goodness, he was amazing in this game too.
Yeah, truly a 2-way player, and a 3-way player, I guess, in this game. But yeah, 12.5% percentage on third downs with their holding him. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it's what Jesse Minter's been doing to quarterbacks all season long. It's the second time already this season where they've allowed 6 points or less. Obviously, the final score is 8. But we're not counting the Chargers special teams.
It wasn't the defense's fault.
It was the special teams' fault. So 6 points allowed in this game. Still some tackling issues, but I'd say overall a better performance. Thule, I thought, a couple of really big plays, had the sack. Also, just had a ball that would have been a conversion on 3rd and 16 on one of those third downs to Chris Olave, probably a little too easily.
Beautiful tip. Yeah, beautiful
tip. He gets his hand up in coverage and knocks it away. But David, it still feels like there's some meat left on the bone. I mean, we'll talk about it more because I know it's a frustrating situation, but they lost Joey Bosa in this game again. Christian Fulton has to leave this game again. 2 guys fighting to play in this game and could not finish this game, but to do what they've been able to do with the guys they've had available to them, hey, they might not have those guys with those pedigrees out there, but you wouldn't necessarily know it. At the same time, they did give up 366 yards, right? Little too easy, like a 2-minute drive right before the half. The game's still close at that point. I think it's 9-2 at that point. They go down and get a field goal to make it 9-5. Still got pushed around in the running game a little bit, but they got up enough late that they didn't really get to get punished. I mean, 21 carries for 117 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. Alvin Kamara, who is going to be their focal point offensively, goes for 122 total yards. Chris Olave, the guy that is their number 1 wide receiver, is going to go 8 catches for 107 yards.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of that's garbage time, right? Like if you were to nerf those numbers a little bit, it doesn't seem that intense. There was just a couple times where things got a little loose. I think what they did well was they took advantage when they had negative plays and got those tackles for loss. They took advantage of the penalties that the Saints had. But David, it still feels like there's levels we haven't seen this defense get to yet, which is insane because I understand they only gave up 6 points. It's just the way it feels.
Well, I think the reason why it feels that way is because the Chargers, even in this dominating defensive performance, still gave up 5 explosive plays. I mean, 4 pass plays of 15 plus yards and 1 rush of over 20 in this contest. So I think
better teams will be able to capitalize on those too, right?
Yeah.
And also a missed field goal too. You have to kind of throw into the miss, a very makeable field goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely it was. But the thing is when you need the Chargers to really kind of bow up and really buckle down and try to get off the field on a 3rd and short, they can do it. And they do it almost every single time. Like they're spectacular in those situations. And they might be able to give up some yards in between the 20s, but man, like they don't really get to the other side of the field very often against this Chargers defense. I mean, that's the one thing you really have to keep in mind. That's why I said quite a bit of yards of offense, but a lot of empty yards. I mean, they just didn't really turn into anything. And, when the Chargers needed to make a play, they needed to get a sack, they needed to get off the field, they did it. And that was evidenced by, the 2 for 16 on third downs allowed. So, I do feel like there's still another gear. I still feel like there is one other level for this Chargers defense to get to. But my goodness, as a collective group, as a collective unit, it doesn't get much better.
Sure. I'm holding them to a high standard that they've set for themselves.
Sure.
But let's also remember that it was a 2nd and a 3rd string quarterback and a Taysom Hill that was, putting up the yards they did in this game, almost 400 yards. I get it. It is nitpicking to say that there's more there, but I just think better teams are going to capitalize on those big plays when you let a screen pass go for 30 plus.
Yeah.
When you give up these chunk plays, when you miss a tackle and your Bud Dupree going for a strip and that turns into a 25-yard run,
that.
those things are going to come back to bite you. This defense is playing out of its mind. It's the best Chargers defense that I can remember since probably the mid-2000s. Like, I feel good enough about saying that. Still, there's some things they have to clean up, as we knew there would be. Like, I would also say special teams, up and down day, right?
Yeah.
The plus side, Cameron Dicker perfect on field goals. The plus side, J.K. Scott was booming punts, landed 3 inside the 20.
Average.
With crazy hang time, too. He, one time their returner decided, hey, I have a chance on this and got absolutely lit up.
They brought a couple punters in, and he definitely took that personally.
Sure. I mean, if we've seen them do that before, I don't think his job's in trouble. I don't think he would lose that. But if it was competition, I mean, but they also, lefty punters. They brought in lefty punters to get their return men ready. Shout out to Ladd McConkey, other little white guy, almost like Cameron Dicker. Ladd McConkey for doing a serviceable job. I wish he was a little bit more decisive on those punt returns. A couple times where I thought he maybe looked a little too long, but I thought he did fine. He caught everything, had one little bobble, but did not muff anything in his first game as the full-time punt returner. Thought that was great, but the safety, that I guess I'm just gonna kind of chalk it up to, hey, stuff happens sometimes.
I guess Josh Harris is actually human after all.
I mean, it's an all-pro long snapper.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something to kind of, project out and be like, hey, we have a special teams problem. But I would say an up and down day for that unit, which hasn't really been special this year, to be fair.
Right. Not as good as it was in the last few years, in the first few years of Ryan Ficken. I think he set a really unrealistically high expectation for himself after turning around one of the worst units and making it into one of the better units.
Like the
it's
best,
still decent. It's not as great or as dominant as it was before. But I mean, still, I think it's, that's the type of day that kind of reminds you of how good it was and how good it has been under Ryan Ficken overall.
Yeah, but I think in the Ryan Ficken era, this is the first bad snap that we've seen. I also think, you have to factor in Darius Davis missing the time that he has as an all-pro punt returner that you don't have available to you right now. And I'd say, hey, there's also hasn't been, maybe a couple loose plays here or there, but no return touchdowns or anything like that they've given up totally game-shifting moments. Today's was sucky. You're down 2-0 because of a special teams mistake. I'm not super worried about that group. The main thing is you have Cameron Dicker, who is just nails, even if he misses a PAT in this game, nails on his field goals as he always is. So a lot to take away from this game in a positive way. There's some definite negatives that you could nitpick, and they'll have to kind of work out before they start playing some of these better teams. But a hugely encouraging performance in that. A message, I think, that this team is heading in the right direction. Justin Herbert is showing some fire and some leadership and some just like, I'm going to take this upon myself that I don't know we've always seen in the past. And I'm really excited to see how these next couple games play out to see if they can take care of business. I wish Deshaun Watson didn't get hurt because James Winston looked pretty good this week, but also should have thrown the game-losing interception. But happy that I get to trim this beard. Happy we got to see some second-half scoring by this Chargers team, which it was never a given, even against the bad team. So we're going to take it and run and be back with you guys tomorrow with our buy or sell show, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions. So hit us up at Locked On LAC. Hit us up on the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 with a 30-second voicemail to get on the show tomorrow with your buy or sell. And you can also find the show every day on our Instagram at Locked On Chargers and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page, as well as my Twitter at Dan Talk Sports and David Drogmeyer's at DroTalkST. Thank you guys for checking out the show today. Make sure to subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel so you never miss the show, and find us wherever you get your podcast from. But a lot of fun stuff to happen this week. We're excited for it, and we're excited to have you guys here with us as it is your team every day. But we'll see you tomorrow for Buy or Sell Tuesday. Until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.